Here's what you need to know first about Red Faction Armageddon. It is not Red Faction Guerrilla 2. If you're expecting open-world sandbox shenanigans, you won't find them. In fact, if you're expecting remotely the same experience, you'll be outright disappointed. Armageddon is an entirely different game, but still a lot of fun in its own right. This will sound like I'm kicking the game in the teeth, but Armageddon is an entirely linear alien shooter that sends you through caves to underground cities and across the surface of Mars. That makes Armageddon sound like it's about 10 years old, and in a way it kind of feels like that. But Armageddon's complementing gameplay elements make it a satisfying experience, if not a profound one. Unlike Guerrilla, Armageddon doesn't reward random or unwarranted demolition. Instead, destruction is a means to an end, most commonly paired with the magnet gun to annihilate enemies using clouds of debris. It works like the Bungie from Just Cause 2. The first marker you fire will be pulled towards the second. This means that buildings are really just stacks of ammunition you can hurl at your enemies or launch enemies at them. Coming into Armageddon, I expected destruction to be the main focus of the game, and was initially disappointed that it wasn't. In Armageddon, destruction takes a back seat to combat. Thanks to a varied arsenal and diverse level design, the combat is generally entertaining, right up until the last 2 levels when it becomes more of a slog. The aforementioned magnet gun creates spontaneous and hilarious situations in which clouds of debris sweep through and annihilate multiple enemies at once. Other things like the charge launcher, which fires remotely detonated explosives, or the nano rifle, which specifically vaporizes structures, gives you options in how you approach combat. On top of that, Armageddon provides mech suits, arachnid crawlers, and on-rail sections in well-measured amounts to keep the progression fresh. There's even a free flight segment that echoes the developer's lineage with Descent. Armageddon's greatest moments occur when the destruction and combat intersect. For instance, some of the game's more open areas are filled with infected structures that you must demolish. Of course, you really should interpret that as, knock this over onto aliens. In these moments, you're shooting aliens, dodging shots, using nanoforge abilities like Berserk and Shell, and sending giant chunks of concrete around at a whim. This is where Armageddon's real fun is, but that's not apparent within the first few hours of playing. Because of this, it's easy to pass quick judgment on the game as a dated experience, but it's really a deceptively fun one at its core. There's sufficient content to round out the package too. First of all, Armageddon's campaign is surprisingly long, clocking in at about 10 hours. There's even a New Game Plus option, which lets you carry your upgrades through another run of the campaign. Ruin Mode drops you into an arena and scores your destruction within a time limit, offering an arcadey feel more similar to Guerrilla. And finally, Infestation Mode is an online co-op wave survival game, which is nothing profound but a reasonably fun way to extend your playtime. Despite most of the game occurring in subterranean caves, Armageddon manages to create unique environments with particularly impressive lighting. Alien-infested caves glow with a bizarre yellow light that glints off your character as though it's through a stained glass window. I particularly like the underground cities, sprinkled with glowing neon signs in a manner evocative of Total Recall. And, as nearly mandatory for a Red Faction game, explosions for some of the game's more esoteric guns look amazing, as do the cascades of tumbling debris when those guns collide with nearby structures. For the most part, Armageddon conforms to third-person control templates. The left stick moves, the right stick looks, the left trigger aims, and the right trigger shoots. The most notable feature of Armageddon's controls is its snap targeting. Similar to Modern Warfare, your cursor will snap to a target if it's near an enemy or explosive barrel when you pull up to aim. Working with the magnet gun is a breeze thanks to this, as it's easy to plant one side on a structure and snap the other into an alien to give him a quick, concrete kiss. Sometimes the camera can be an issue though, especially when a building or other rubble happens to fall on you. The camera is so tight to your character that it can be extremely disorienting when the rubble crashes around you. You can always equip the maul to hammer your way out of any pile of rubble, so it's only momentarily confusing. Now I love me a great sci-fi explosion, and the Singularity Cannon in Red Faction Armageddon has one of the best I've ever heard, rivaling that awesome concussion bomb from Star Wars Episode 2. It's so awesome you feel it in your fingertips. Other sound effects like crumbling rubble, gunfire, and explosions all add to that gleeful destruction. Other aspects of Armageddon's audio are also great, if not as creative. The voice acting does a great job selling the self-serious but lighthearted story. Darius Mason, the main character's archetype, is familiar. He's the every man in the wrong place at the wrong time sort of guy, but he's still entertaining and endearing thanks to his good delivery.
Welcome to church.
The game's soundtrack is actually one of my favorite elements, and I didn't even notice it until I paused to take some notes. The game's combat tracks are mixes of manic breakbeat drum tracks and haunting choral singing. I wasn't expecting a great soundtrack from Armageddon, but the soundtrack already has a home on my MP3 player. Red Faction Armageddon is not what we associate with progressive gaming. It's 100% linear, relies on pure shooting for its entertainment, and it doesn't include any sort of competitive multiplayer. However, this is a game that knows exactly what it is, a game where it's fun to shoot aliens. If you feel that newer games need to be innovative, or at the very least try, Armageddon will not agree with your sensibilities. However, like any red-blooded American, I love shooting aliens and blowing buildings up, which is why I'm giving Red Faction Armageddon an 8 out of 10.
Your nano-suit is powered and active. Jump into the next evolution of war with the new Crisis 2 badges. Join the Respawn Army today. Sync your My Crisis ID and engage in the fight. This is your war. This is your opportunity. Prove your prestige today and earn your badges.